In the closing months of World War II, American pilots and engineers had the rare opportunity to examine a captured Japanese Mitsubishi G4M Betty bomber. This twin-engine aircraft, known for its sleek design and long range, had been one of the Imperial Japanese Navy's most important bombers during the Pacific War. When U.S. personnel inspected the aircraft at Clark Field in the Philippines, they were amazed by its elegant construction and aerodynamic form, but they were equally shocked by what they found beneath the surface: large, unprotected fuel tanks without self-sealing technology. To their eyes, this was a design flaw that made the bomber a flying torch. One American engineer remarked, "It's like flying with a tank full of gasoline wrapped in foil." The Betty had been designed for extreme range. Japanese engineers prioritized lightness over protection, removing armor plating and self-sealing tanks to achieve greater fuel capacity and speed. This trade-off allowed the bomber to strike deep into enemy territory, reaching places Allied commanders once thought were safe. However, the lack of protection proved deadly. The aircraft's crews often perished in flames when their planes were hit, earning the Betty grim nicknames like the Flying Lighter and Cigar. Despite its vulnerability, the G4M scored early victories. In December 1941, it helped sink the British battleships HMS Prince of Wales and HMS Repulse, a shocking event that signaled the end of the battleship era. But as Allied fighters grew stronger, the Betty's weaknesses became clear. By 1943, even minor hits would set the bombers ablaze. One of the most famous moments in the Betty's history came on April 18, 1943. Admiral Isoroku Yamamoto, the architect of the Pearl Harbor attack, was flying aboard a G4M on an inspection tour. American codebreakers intercepted his flight plan, and U.S. P-38 Lightning fighters ambushed his formation over Bougainville. Yamamoto's Betty was torn apart by gunfire and crashed into the jungle, killing everyone on board. His death marked a major psychological blow to Japan and symbolized the Betty's tragic fragility. Captured Betty bombers were later flown and tested by U.S. technical units. They admired its smooth handling, impressive range, and efficient engines. Yet its thin fuselage, unarmored pilot seat, and exposed fuel tanks left them puzzled. To American engineers, accustomed to rugged bombers like the B-25, the Betty felt like a race car with wings. As the war neared its end, surviving Bettys were increasingly used for desperate missions, even kamikaze attacks. The bomber that once represented Japan's aerial might had become a symbol of sacrifice and decline. By 1945, few remained airworthy, and most were destroyed in combat or on the ground. Today, only a handful of Mitsubishi G4Ms survive in museums around the world. Their fragile frames remind us of the delicate balance between innovation and vulnerability. The Betty stands as both. When the Mitsubishi G4M Betty entered combat, it struck fear across the Pacific. Its long range and heavy bomb load made it deadly early in the war, especially in December 1941, when G4Ms helped sink the British battleships Prince of Wales and Repulse. Yet success came at a terrible cost. Allied pilots quickly discovered the bomber's fatal flaw: its unprotected fuel tanks. Entire formations of Bettys were lost in fireballs after just a few hits. Admiral Yamamoto, mastermind of Pearl Harbor, died in 1943 when his Betty was shot down. His death marked a turning point in the Pacific War. After capturing several G4Ms, American engineers disassembled them piece by piece. They found remarkable craftsmanship: lightweight aluminum, frames, aerodynamic wings, and efficient Mitsubishi G4M engines. But they were shocked by the absence of self-sealing fuel tanks or armor protection. Reports concluded that the G4M achieves range at the cost of survivability. It was a masterpiece of efficiency and a study in fatal compromise. The teardown became a lesson for future aircraft design. Behind the machine were men who flew it with courage. Japanese air crews called the G4M Hamagumo, sea cloud. They respected its grace, but feared its fragility. Inside, conditions were cramped and hot, with the smell of fuel constant. Still, they flew mission after mission with bravery. American pilots later spoke of their respect for opponents who refused to abandon their burning planes. By 1944, many Bettys became kamikaze aircraft. Their range turned toward one final desperate purpose. When the war ended, hundreds of Bettys lay scattered on island airfields, tragic symbols of ambition and loss. Allied reports called it the most paradoxical aircraft of the Pacific, sleek and innovative, yet fatally fragile. The lessons from its design shaped post-war aviation. Engineers adopted its aerodynamic principles, but never again sacrificed protection for speed. Today, a few Bettys survive in museums, their riveted skins scarred but proud. A reminder of beauty, bravery, and tragedy in equal measure.